She is editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine. She's artistic director of Condé Nast. You've been at a time when you've really had to take print through to digital. When you've got something like Vogue.com and you have to build a digital platform, which you've done, where does that end for you? And what challenges does that come with that?
Well, I think nobody knows where it ends. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about the digital universe, that it's changing every second. And you know, as far as journalists are concerned, I think what's amazing about the world that we all work in today is that we just have so many different avenues to reach our readers, whether it's through a digital edition or through one of Sally's brilliant videos or through the print magazine or through mobile. And I think what we've certainly been learning over the last decade is that every platform requires different content. Whereas I think at the beginning we were quite naive and thought we could just put the magazine on the website and that was enough, but obviously not at all. I mean, the website has to be like a Twitter feed. It has to be immediate and instant and full of information to make people come back to it as often as you possibly can. But it's such an extraordinary world of journalism that we're so lucky to work in today. And each day brings new challenges and new people who think differently. I mean, you all know far more about this world than I do, and what I really try and do is surround myself with people who really understand it and can help me through it and get wonderful results like the video you just saw.
I'm wondering as well if when you've got just a print edition, you're so limited with who you can feature and who you can work with because there's a limited number of pages, whereas with digital, you can possibly work with more and support more designers and feature more new faces, and maybe it's actually quite freeing or is actually very challenging. I mean, have you had to double staff if you're not replicating content?
No, we have a separate staff on Vogue.com, and I actually like the rigor of the printed page, and I like the rigor of having to edit and really select what you put into the magazine. I think too much choice sometimes is actually overwhelming, and I urge Sally and her team to really edit very thoroughly on the web as well. I think you can get inundated with information, and I like to think that people come to Vogue, whether it's our website or print or digital, because it is an edited product. It is an edited, thoughtful magazine and website. And we're not trying to be everything to everybody.
And you're presumably reading the magazine both in your hands and on your iPad, I'm sure, in equal measure a lot. Talking about the magazine, let's talk a little bit about some of your most memorable covers. Take me through your first one.
Well, the first one, the Christian Lacroix T-shirt and blue jeans, I actually, that was not shot as a cover. That was my very first cover for Vogue 100 million years ago. And actually, when we sent that to the printers, they called me up and asked if it was a mistake, because they couldn't imagine that something as not quite so perfect could be on the cover of Vogue, and that it remains really one of my most favorite covers and an iconic cover that I think is known by so many designers and so many people. And I actually received the most charming letter from the girl on the cover, who's now a child psychiatrist with 6 children, saying she would never forget that cover. And
can you remember who the jeans were actually by on that shoot?
Yes,
not?
I can guess.
Okay, and then the Michelle Obama.
Yes, that was shot right before President Obama took office. They were in a holding pen across the road from the White House, and Annie Leibovitz went down with Tony Goodman to shoot that cover. And Mrs. Obama was an absolute pleasure to work with, but was extremely sure on what she wanted to wear and how she wanted to look, as she still is. And I think that really this is one of the covers that I'm most proud of.
Thank you. They're all great. And I'd just like to say on that I'm obsessed with the Vogue Archives, which on your website you can go back to the first ever cover of Vogue and all those that precede it. And that it's absolutely fantastic that someone actually went to the trouble to go and do that, because I know that so many magazines are sitting in old libraries and people don't have access to them, and they're such a sign of the times that if you're at your computer and you look at the first edition of Vogue and you look at what it represented through the times, through these and up to Lena, it's a fascinating history lesson. And I think it's so brilliant that Vogue actually went to the trouble of doing it.
Well, thank you. I mean, it took 2 years to scan all the magazines. For some reason, it was done somewhere very strange. I can't remember exactly. It might have been Thailand, but they went somewhere very odd and disappeared for 2 years. And there were some issues that were so rare that we only had 1 or 2 copies, and we had to send people out there to watch over those issues as they were scanned. But it is an incredible resource, and I really think if you look back over our 125 years, I mean, you can really read the history of women within the pages of the magazine.
I want to talk now about the Fashion Fund, which is currently airing on Ovation. It's on tonight. And this is a show that really, really shows you in what you do with the CFDAs. I just want to really, really commend you on the fact that you've actually got some professional fashion designers on the television, because it's not as easy as people think, and it's really, really refreshing to see the pros on TV. So before we talk about that, we're going to take a little clip, take a look at a clip of the Fashion Fund on Ovation. I've been glued. I just want to ask you, tell us a little bit about the CFDA and your involvement. What is the Fashion Fund specifically?
I realized how unbelievably hand-to-mouth the existence was of all these young designers in New York. And I also realized that a lot of the emphasis in New York fashion, very understandably, had been on the great giants of fashion in New York, you know, the Ralph Laurens, the Donna Karens.
Of which there are many.
Calvin
there are
Klein.
an incredible number here.
But the young generation was not really being recognized. So we put together this fashion fund with the support of many great industry leaders, and it's now been in existence 11, 12 years. And out of the fund has come really the next generation of American fashion, starting with our very first winner, which was Jack and Lazaro from Proenza Schouler. But if you look at the landscape of the New York Fashion Week, that, you know, starting tomorrow, you will see that really all the bright young lights there have come through the fund, and it's an initiative that everybody within the industry is involved with, whether it's through financial support or through mentoring or an advisory committee that we've set up to help businesses. And it's not something that we take lightly.
No, the show really shows that, I have to say.
You know,
it really shows what hard work and dedication fashion actually takes, and how much people are willing to put in. Specifically, the committee with Diane and all the people, Jenna Lyons, you look and you think these people are really giving their time and really giving their energy to something that they really believe in.
And
it's not just a game show.
No, it's not just a game show. It's not just a dinner. It's 6-9 months of getting to know these young people and interviewing them and finding out what their hopes and dreams are, what their talents are, and really it's very difficult at the end of the process often for us to choose the winners. And what's great about it is that we keep in touch with all the 10 finalists, and that we follow them throughout their careers, and we try and help them in whichever way we come. And what's very touching and very rewarding to me is at the dinner every year when we give out the 3 awards, all our past finalists from the 12 years come, and it's a fantastic sense of family and community and people really wanting to help each other.
And all those finalists are mega names on the Fashion Week calendar now, and I think that's a lot to do with you.
Well, it's totally a community effort.
The other thing I was going to say is that it's such great exposure for those designers, even the ones that didn't win, and we won't ruin too much of the story, although it has been announced that Public School won, and I think they were fantastic. But for all those designers who didn't win, this show's given them such great exposure, and I know it was probably a risk. People take a risk to be on television, but this comes across so well, and you really see what everyone puts into it. For me, I think it must just be a huge success for you all round.
Well, they were very nervous at the beginning.
I'm sure.
But I think the directors were extremely tactful, and after the first half an hour, I think people stopped noticing that they were there, and that's what makes for great television. And I think it is a great resource for young people who are looking to get into fashion to really understand, as you rightly said, the hard work and the dedication and the commitment that it takes. And it is not just about, trying to get a fantastic dress on a fantastic actress at the Oscars. There's a lot more that goes into it than maybe some people understand. And I think that this series really shows that. And it's an initiative that we're all incredibly proud of, and we see the results every single day.
Well, I'm looking forward to Series 2, Series 3, Series 4. Can't wait. Talking of hard work and dedication, I now want to go and talk about your philanthropic work. You have raised millions, I will say that. Anna doesn't have to. Anna has raised millions for charity over the last few decades, millions. A lot of that is to do with your work with the Met and the Costume Gala. And I would just like to congratulate you to say that the Costume Institute is soon to be called I must get it right, the Anna Wintour Costume Centre. That's fantastic and absolutely makes complete sense. Talk a little bit to us about the Met, and then I want to talk to you more about some of your other charity work. What does the Met mean to you, and what does it feel now to have a centre soon to be named after you? I think that's very exciting in life.
Well, obviously, it's a huge honor, and I've been, deeply touched by the Met's decision to name the center after me. But it's a museum that I feel very passionately about, and the Costume Institute is the most remarkable resource for anyone that works in fashion. The archives are absolutely extraordinary, and when we reopen in May, obviously they're open for all to see and avail themselves of. And it's the biggest collection, the most in-depth collection in the world. It's an honor and a privilege to work with Andrew Bolton and Harold Cotter, the two curators. And it's hard to explain the Met. It's like its own city. It's its own, you enter into it, it's its own little world. And the people there, again, care so passionately about what they do, and they open their doors every day to the public to see the most incredible works of art. And anything that I can do to help and to make anything more available to more people is obviously so important to me. And the Costume Institute is been of such help to the industry, and I think everybody within our fashion world uses it as much as they can, so I'm thrilled to be part of it.
I think to support names of the future is one thing, but to also preserve the names of the past is also another, and if you can do both in your position, then that's a wonderful thing to do. I just want to talk now about the Born Free charity that you're hugely involved with. We're going to take a quick look at a clip now before we talk about that. Okay, so I just want to reiterate, before we talk about the fashion project aspect of that I want to reiterate the mission of Born Free Africa is to end mother-to-child transmission of HIV. I didn't know this, but up to 700 children a day are born with HIV, which are transmitted by their mothers. It's a shocking statistic, and I actually didn't even know it. This isn't just in Africa, this is actually all over the world. So your plan with Born Free is to end, by the 31st of December 2015, is to end that situation, so no children will be born with HIV transmitted from their mother. Am I right?
Well, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Obviously, we need all of your help to make this happen. But
what can we do to help?
Well, there is now a pill that if a mother who is HIV positive takes, it stops the transmission of the disease to the fetus. Right. So obviously this is a huge development. It's a magnificent development. And what Born Free is doing is it has clinics all over Africa. And what the industry has done is we have approached a number of mothers, some of whom you saw in the film, who are fashion designers who have children. And they are designing a collection that is going to be available on Shopbop. I think it's from the middle of April. It's a wide.
Launches on Mother's Day.
Yes, I think that the collection is going to be available a little bit before that.
Okay.
And all the proceeds of that collection are going to go directly to the Born Free initiative. And we are traveling to Africa at the end of this month with Annie Leibovitz, the photographer, and Leah, and hopefully one or two women fashion designers, to visit the clinics, to raise awareness, to garner some press. We will also be making a documentary about the work that the Born Free Initiative is doing. And again, just going back to the fashion community, you know, back in the early 90s when AIDS first really started to decimate the fashion industry, really they were among the first to step up and raise money and speak out when a time when nobody was. And I think, you know, we really do forget that now, that the fashion industry was so brave at a time, and so really they were activists at a time when a lot of people were scared of doing so. And I think because things are now improved domestically, and because they are such a generous and philanthropic community, they're now turning their attention to Africa, where help is still desperately needed.
Okay, well, everyone, bornfreeafrica.org, and it will be on Shopbop. Go buy, go help. Okay, that's sadly all we've got time for. I just want to say thank you so much to Anna Wintour for coming along today and talking with us. Thank you.